Good.
Okay, good morning, Multnomah Village. Week 81, Justice for Qadira. We're coming off of all our Martin Luther King celebrations here in the city, and I just have to admit to everybody, it was very triggering for me. I think it's really disrespectful to Dr. King's memory to just be ignoring this protest and acting like it's not happened. All these people were marching in North Portland. It's disrespectful. Because we're not having a respectful conversation about race in this country, are we? It's just an agenda. It's just an agenda item for certain people. And that's really sad. And that's what this protest proves. And it's another reason why we are so committed to getting out here, because our public officials are just not having honest conversations about race, not in the city, not in the nation. There's a lot of talk, but it's a lot of hot air.
And honestly, the public is not having genuine conversations about race, which is why we are out here, folks.
The public isn't being led to have honest conversations.
But the public shouldn't have to be led, okay? You, as a public citizen, should know what's right and what's wrong. I mean, you should at least be trying to figure it out. And I mean, it doesn't help that the governments, that our authorities are leading us around by the nose, and we're led to believe that we should be following these people or doing what they're saying because their interests are not ours. Okay?
It's really disturbing. You know, I woke up, or I guess this was yesterday, actually evening, I saw this headline on KATU, and it was a community honors man killed in Northeast Portland. Marking the city's first shooting homicide of 2023. Just the title of the article in and of itself, okay? We're honoring somebody who was killed tragically via gang violence, who was lost to gang violence long before they were killed, and then you know, they were killed, and this is not something to honor. Yet this is not the first time I've seen this kind of headline. Hold on a minute.
Folks, I just want to ask one question. Why are we glorifying violence here?
It basically says, you know, this article pretty much, it's like a message to the black community, you know, go get yourself in gang violence and get killed, and that's how you can get honored.
That's how you can get respect.
That's just the headline in and of itself is incredibly problematic, and I kind of believe, you know, it's racist on its face, because it's like, what kind of message are you trying to send? So, you know, the media is very powerful with how they cover things, what they cover, what they don't cover. It's really doing it's really doing a disservice to the community, the way they try to paint these things that happen.
That's the same thing in our case. If you were asked the authorities, which they don't have an official story on what happened in our case, but they do try to explain this away as some kind of accident, which didn't need to be looked into because, you know...
Simply on its face, because it was an accident.
They decided it was an accident before ever even looking into what happened to our daughter.
But that's all rumor and conjecture in our case, and that was something I wanted to talk about, too, because one of the things that I've been looking at this week is the Patrick Kimmons case. You know, the Patrick Kimmons case, the entire case file is online. You can just type in Patrick Kimmons and investigation, and the entire investigation will come up. There were 2 volumes of grand jury proceedings, so like over 500 pages of witness testimony. There's 402 pages of an actual investigation. There's a timeline, all these facts. It's an actual investigation that happened in that case. And so for everybody who's wondering, again, what we are seeking, I want to be really clear. That's what we're seeking in this case is an actual official investigation
by the authorities.
Into what happened.
We believe, though, that is a problem because it's the authorities that are trying to cover this up.
So that's problematic too.
There's a serious conflict of interest there.
So we're trying. That is what we are fighting for here. You know, I had conversation on the internet the other day with somebody who is, totally against what we're doing. They feel we should just pack it in and go home because, they don't feel that we are deserving of any rights because they feel that, what happened in this situation was acceptable. And that's essentially what the authorities have always told us, that it's just okay to get somebody else's kid naked, okay to assault them, okay to cover up a crime. It's not a good look for law enforcement. It's not a good look for this community. But, I had to tell this person, they're sitting there saying no one's ever going to help you. No one's ever going to be there for you. Nobody cares about what happened here. It's fine what happened to your kid. Well, I don't believe everybody believes that. See, I think this community is probably not even split down the middle. I would think most of you think that what happened in this situation is horrific. Most people aren't standing out on this corner because their hands are tied, because this is really between us and the authorities, and we understand that. We do need more people asking for justice in this situation, but this is also a complicated situation, and we understand
it really
that.
Shouldn't be complicated.
It shouldn't be complicated, but because of the way it's been handled, the authorities have made a big mess for themselves, and since they don't want to go to jail or be held accountable for the crimes they committed, we can't get anything figured out.
And that's a serious, serious problem, because the problem that poses is when the authorities have, an ulterior motive or some agenda that is not favorable to the public, it is way too easy for them to execute and just get away with it, because as the public, the only form of accountability that we have is through the authorities.
Exactly.
So there's a big, big problem with the way that we are running our society, and that's one of the things that we're up here tackling right now, is where do you go when the authorities are in the wrong, when they're the criminals? And they are,
the thing is they're directing the police. You don't see me and my husband out here fighting with the police, because the police's hands are tied here too, at least the good cops. They can't do anything about this because obviously the call is coming from the top. They've got the media shut down, they've got law enforcement shut down, but nobody should have the power to do that. Nobody should have the power to do that. I want to point out another article that KGW put up a couple years ago, which was similar to the article I was just talking about. Demonstrators honor man killed by Portland police in 2018.
Why are we honoring, why are we glorifying violence? Why are we honoring people who are dying these tragic deaths?
Right.
Like, these are not heroes. These are people who were embroiled in scandal and then died, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is not something to honor. And the way the media paints it, when we talk about violence in our communities, if the youth see that committing an act of violence can get them honored in the media,
it can get them respect and praise.
Yeah, they're probably going to go looking for that experience, and and I think they are going and looking for that experience, because every time there's some horrible violence or a horribly violent demonstration, everybody goes flocking to it. This article that I was just looking at, I don't know how many people came out and marched for Patrick Kimmons, but again, it makes no sense to me. Somebody's dying a tragic death. It's not something to honor.
It's something, he's definitely someone we should be mourning, and we should be saddened.
It's sad when we lose lives to, drug addiction, gang violence, and poor choices and decisions. I do believe that.
Because these are all things that are avoidable, or should be.
These are all things in our society that we need to clean up. No child's life should go in that direction. I agree with that. But again, the reason I bring up this case and I bring up the coverage from the papers is I just really feel like, you have the media fueling this divisiveness and this hate. It's why they ignore our protests, because they don't want to have a real conversation about what's actually going on in our community. They just kind of want to, they like to tell stories within the confines of their agenda. And I think the agenda is getting people to hurt one another, because that's what it looks like to me. That's another thing about this person that was lashing out on me online. I had a couple of people the other day lashing out at me. They put our family family in a really precarious situation by refusing to investigate this. I mean, I've told people over and over, this ends when we get a full and fair public investigation. So we're not up here trying to get anything other than that, which we have not gotten to this day. It's been 16 years. Our daughter was brutally assaulted. There's no question about that. The only problem we're dealing with is do you think it's okay to play naked games with kids and brutally assault them with scalding waters full of tea kettles, or a scalding tea kettle full of water, and then try to get the crime covered up, or not? This is it's a very black and white issue there. But what's happened in our community is me and my husband have been subject to judgment from the entire community. And one of the things this person was pointing out is, you have a shrill voice. Nobody likes you. Nobody likes the way you're dealing with this. Nobody likes your opinions. Nobody likes where you are politically. What does that matter when a child was physically assaulted and abused and a crime was covered up by law enforcement? I mean, the idea that me and my husband have to be some kind of other people to get an investigation.
Well, folks, that's discrimination.
That's just discrimination on its face. That's
what's called a prima facie case of discrimination.
Right. If you don't want someone's child who was brutally assaulted and injured for life to get any justice because you don't like their parents for whatever reasons, that's discrimination. And quite frankly, the way it's being applied by our authorities, it's fascism. Because you're basically saying I've got to think a certain way, be a certain way, align with certain political ideologies in order to get any help. I mean, down on the corner, we've been accused of we're not including enough of the people that are excluding us. So we're not inclusive enough to BLM. We're not inclusive enough to the trans community. We're not inclusive enough to people who aren't even helping us. And somehow we're supposed to be including them in this fight that they don't even want to be included in. So that doesn't even make any sense to me. I've just pointed out that, in terms of where I could be on the map on this planet fighting this specific battle, which is fighting for a little black girl that was brutally assaulted by our white neighbors, this should be real simple here in Portland. We got BLM, we got LGBTQ, we've got Antifa. You would think this would be a done deal by now, but it's not. So that's how you know that the other side, that's just an agenda. That has nothing to do with, I don't know what it's about, but it's not about making Black Lives Matter or making anything better really for anybody. Because they're plenty content to just leave us out here week after week after week, and we're gonna do it. I mean, people say, stop doing that, it's stressing you out, or this or that or the other. It doesn't matter. I will fight to the day I die for justice for my daughter and for her to have her rights as an American citizen. Same thing with my family. There's no reason for us to ever leave this alone, because these are the difficult conversations we need to have about race. Why did this happen?
And how did it happen?
One of the things that me and my husband get harassed about a lot is what we did the night our daughter was burned.
Yeah,
no one ever seems to care about what the other side did.
First of all, Todd and Amy, they didn't call the police.
No.
They didn't even take her to a hospital.
They didn't even call 911. They did nothing. They didn't even come to the hospital with us. They never checked back in on Qadira's health, essentially, ever again. They haven't cared at all. So, it's interesting.
The hospitals, the doctors, they had actual legally obligation to call the police.
Yeah,
we brought our daughter in. They didn't know what was going on, or maybe they already did, which was part of the cover-up.
We have mandatory reporting laws for a reason. If you are a parent and your child is abused, you may not know exactly what happened, and you may be left. You probably will be left caring for your abused child in some capacity. Now, for me and my husband, that's one of the things we hear all the time. You didn't call the police that night. Well, that night, we were completely traumatized. Our daughter, we found her naked in the basement, on the sofa, naked in a basement. basement. Okay, these people are telling us just put some aloe vera on it and take her home. They act completely unconcerned. We take her to Providence St. Vincent's. They act completely unconcerned, even though she can't walk. She's essentially in shock. We were there for 17
minutes, folks.
They don't call the police. They don't call DHS. They don't alert us.
They don't treat her at all.
Yeah, they don't tell us that there's really something wrong. Our brains, they don't work like that. So fine.
And nobody does.
We didn't call the police right away, but we did take her to the hospital several times, and we just kept getting told to go home, even though they diagnosed a mortal injury. We didn't know they diagnosed a mortal injury because we didn't understand burns. Who would? So, I mean,
that's why we took her to the hospital.
People act like...
because we needed help.
People act like... I get this, well, I get from people that, oh, you didn't call the police, so that means you didn't think your daughter was abused. First of all, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. There's the law, and there's what happened, okay? What you think, I know that's all the rage now. It's just you think and then you are. But let's come back to reality for a minute here. These people boiled up a tea kettle on the stove. They said they were playing a naked game. I don't know why we have to go over this and over this and over this. The hospitals, they were mandatory reporters. Qadira School, mandatory reporters. The attorney we hired, mandatory reporter. It just goes on and on and on. There's no reason the police weren't called.
And a proper investigation not done at the time of the incident.
Right, and there's no reason why the police aren't getting involved now, except for they just don't want to arrest everybody involved in this cover-up, and they should want to. And they should, because that is how our society will function better. Because if we're just going to just rip apart all the agreements we've made with law enforcement, then what's the point?
Arbitrarily, folks.
What's the point? I mean, it's already happening. We've seen it happen in multiple cases where, the wealthy and connected get away with crimes.
Yeah, just look at Epstein.
But, why in this case should we allow this to go on and on and on, especially when you see what's going on in this city? The city is completely coming apart at the seams. So, a lot of people are now experiencing being ignored by law enforcement, and they're not liking it, for far less, too, than what we're complaining about here. But the problem is we're not going to solve anything in this city till we start talking about all the corruption running through the ranks. And in Qadira's case, there are people now who put their John Hancock all over this that need to be removed. That's just what it is. You just cannot have criminals running the store, okay? Because it's the type of environment they foster that starts leading to chaos. So it's been 16 years since Qadira was burned, and in that time, the city's gone to shit. Let's just admit it. The city's gone to shit. Not up here, not yet, but
it's coming, folks.
Give it time. It's well on its way. I see what's going on downtown, and actually, I'm so grateful to God that we started doing these rallies, because when you spend time downtown, you start realizing that, we have these really, really serious problems. Can you go back to my downloads? I can't figure this out. Just wanted to pull up that one article.
I don't know, honey. My hands are so frozen.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Anyway, my mom texted me this morning, and apparently the front page of the Oregonian, there's a lot of documents coming out about the treatment of women on the Nike campus. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. My hands are too cold, too.
Here.
And it's really sad, because me and my husband have been talking about this for a long time. We have places like the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, but they don't work. They just don't work when these corporations have this much power. They just, all their policies and procedures go by the wayside because people can just get paid. I don't know what you're yelling about, but I don't really care. I'm out here protesting for my daughter. It doesn't matter to me. Hey, it is what it is, honey. It is what it is. The fact of the matter is there's a lot we need to figure out. take it up with your elected officials.
You don't have to yell. You can come here and talk to us.
Yeah, take it up with your elected officials, one or the other. We're only here an hour a week. You can cope.
You can come over here and talk to us.
Yeah.
You don't have to yell at us. Why don't you come over and tell us your
what's
grievance?
your problem?
What's
the problem?
Why don't you come over here and... Come over
What's
here.
the problem?
We cannot hear what you were saying.
Okay, let's just forget it, because nobody can hear. So
if you would come over here and talk to us,
we
maybe
could
we could get something figured out.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to sit there and scream at the top of your lungs, we're not going to be able to get anything figured out, okay?
Yeah, and the thing is, some people would say we're screaming at the top of the lungs on this corner, but the fact of the matter is we've been everywhere else trying to get redress. We can't get redress. If your public officials would do an investigation, then you could just type in our names and you could see an official investigation like in the Patrick Kimmons case, and we can move on. Although, in that case, his mother still protests every week, and, people aren't there telling her to shut up because she's surrounded with people with guns, okay? So we don't do that up here. We don't get any recognition for it, though, because, you have to be carrying guns or get shot by some gang member or something like that for the media to even notice that you exist. We're down here peacefully seeking redress, and it's not good enough for you. I can't hear you. You're just yelling into the ether. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know why you're mad. You mad because we're fighting for our daughter? You're mad because we're fighting for our daughter? You want the government to cover up child abuse? You want the government to cover up crimes? Is that what you want? You like living under this corrupt system? That's what you would prefer? You like the fact that all these people are involved in covering up this crime? It makes you mad that we're talking about it? Tough. It's really, really sad. I don't know what's going on in this city. Nobody really wants to try to sort out anything. Me and my husband get out here. We're actually trying to have these conversations with our community, and we're not trying to burn anything down. We just want to talk about what happened here. And that's not good enough. What was really upsetting and triggering about Martin Luther King Day for me is that peaceful protest, I've been doing it for 16 years, first of all. Me and my husband had about 13, 14 years under our belt of peacefully fighting for redress for our daughter quietly behind the scenes before we started doing these protests. So we did exhaust every avenue, and we do have proof of that. If there was ever an investigation, we've contacted multiple entities, and nobody will help us because we've been stripped of our rights, okay? So that's why we are down on the corner. If that makes everybody angry, that's what your public officials did, because they could start today and investigate this crime, but they're not going to. And they're not going to because they did this, and they do not want to have to be subject to their own laws, which is the problem in our society today. Everybody running everything has their hand in somebody's pocket, and they commit crimes at will, and they're never going to be held accountable, I guess.
Yeah, folks, we cannot keep running society where, the money gets to decide what happens in every circumstance. Because that's what we are running up against. It's really money saying that we're not going to get an investigation here.
And
that's all it is.
That's what I was reading, when I'm reading about this, all these documents that are coming to light from Nike, which my husband experienced the discrimination at Nike. He experienced the inappropriate sexual behavior. All the things
and I was a man. I'm a guy.
And it was coming from the managers, just like the women said. They are not lying. Okay, that front page article, those women that are fighting, kudos to you, ladies. Keep fighting. Because the fact of the matter is, if our corporations are treating their employees like crap, and they don't have to follow any laws here in America, just imagine how bad it is in the factories. Just imagine. These women are being beaten, abused, freaking work 19, 20 hours a day. Because the women up here are being abused. My husband was abused on the Nike campus. People should want better from a company they support. I see the swoosh everywhere. Don't you want Nike to be a better company? I'm sorry they got involved in covering up this crime. That's their problem, right? They did that to themselves. Me and my husband didn't. One of the things we struggle with is we had no power in this situation. People seem to think, I get the sense that people think, oh, you know, we're out here for some nefarious reasons. No, we're just out here telling you what happened. You know, we're just out here telling you what happened.
It's funny,
this is the reality of what's going on. You know, we're not improving our society by ignoring this.
It's funny, too, because in a police communication that we had, they state that nothing probably would have changed even if we did call the police at the time of the incident, because they would have found some other way to cover this up. They were trying to cover this up. Okay?
Right.
That's what they were going to do. Whether we called them at the scene or whether we called them 60 months later, it doesn't matter. They were going to cover this up because they can.
Where is that letter? I'll read it. I'm going to actually read the letter from the police. Our hands are kind of frozen, but I'm going to read the letter from the police today because it's very telling. They say that, you know, they're trying to stop the violence in our communities, that they, you know, that they're trying to improve racial equity. Well, let me just read this letter because let's really dive into how they were talking to me and my husband. You know, after our daughter was abused, we're made to pay her abusers. We're made to take care of her wounds, which was completely traumatizing and disturbing. You know, 12 white people came out laughing after these people said, yeah, we abused your daughter. We got her naked. We played Little Naked House on the Prairie. All this stuff. You know, the first time me and my husband heard about what actually happened was 16 months later when the adults described what they were doing, and they described a crime. So when we went to the police, after they were presumably absolved in a civil court, which again
is impossible. You can't absolve somebody of child abuse or crimes against a child
or any
in
crime.
A civil court.
Or any crime. Okay, the fact that this case was filed civilly when there was an 8-year-old minor child, minor child involved makes no sense. No DHS, no police reports. I mean, come on. We really need to get into this. But I'm going to read this letter. It's dated May 14th, 2009. After my daughter's case, we pursued it. So, this was one of the results. We end up getting this letter, and let's see how the police were talking to us. You know, does this sound like they have any racial equity training, or they care at all whether me and my husband turn to violence in our community? Let's see. Dear Mrs. Stevens, the Portland Police Bureau's Internal Affairs Division has completed the review of your complaint. In the complaint you filed with the Independent Police Review Division, which was forwarded to the Internal Affairs Division, you made the following allegations. Sergeant Dan Liu failed to do an investigation of possible child abuse. Sergeant Dan Liu was argumentative, rude, and hung up the phone on you. Chief Sizer did not respond to your letter requesting an investigation. I reviewed the information in your complaint, your letter to Chief Sizer, relevant police reports, and your correspondence with the Oregon State Bar. And listen to this, everybody, because they acknowledge that my daughter was brutally assaulted. Let's hear about it. On April 12, 2007, your daughter Qadira was severely burned on her left leg by scalding hot water while visiting a friend's house. The Portland police were not called at that time, and instead you opted for a civil trial. Hey, guys, criminals in Portland can opt for a civil trial. See, this is the thing. We didn't opt for anything. We weren't given any choices. Todd and Amy opted for a civil trial, and that's exactly what they got, okay? We had no power over this situation. We opted for nothing. Here we go. It appears that the other party involved, Amy McQuiston, was found to be absolved of negligence in that civil trial. Really? How?
How?
On August 16th, 2008, your husband Renee contacted Portland Police Officer Herb Miller at Central Precinct 16 months after the initial incident. And why were we contacting him? Because we had finally learned that a crime had been committed. We were sure because they told us at the trial that they committed a crime. Before then, we were instructed not to speak to them, okay? So, what information did we have? We didn't know. We didn't even know that our attorney hadn't contacted the police. We didn't know what was going on. We were young parents.
And he never brought that up, folks. He never brought up contacting the police, and he never did contact the police.
And if we had, what really would have been the difference? A crime is a crime is a crime. They would have just covered the crime up differently. Officer Miller wrote a police report with the details that Renee provided, then contacted our child abuse team. August 16, 2008 was a Saturday, which is not normal business hours for the child abuse team, though a sergeant is always on call and can be reached by phone. Since the incident was 16 months old and Qadira was safe, the report was faxed to the child abuse team and would later be reviewed for possible follow-up.
And how did
they know Qadira was safe?
Yeah, how did they know that Qadira was safe?
And was Qadira safe? Because I don't think she was, because at the time she had mounting health problems
that were not being treated by
the hospital. We were being lied to about her health. Had they done an investigation, she may not have as many health problems today. So this letter on its face is just discrimination, okay? On October 14th, 2008, oh wait, since the incident was... Okay, Officer Miller, oh, he's not normal business hours. Okay, so the report was faxed to the child abuse team and would later be reviewed for possible follow-up. On October 14, 2008, the Portland Police Bureau's Chief Office received your letter that was not dated. It was time-stamped as received at 9:39 a.m. and immediately given to the Investigative Branch Assistant Chief Brett Smith. See all these names, you guys? Yeah, all these corrupt people still working in our system. Assistant Chief Smith gave it to our Detective Division Commander, John Eckhart, for review. Your letter details the burn incident, your phone contact with Sergeant Dan Liu of the child abuse team, the civil trial, and also mentions your complaint with the Oregon State Bar.
Nobody wants to talk about, though, how the fact that this was a crime and it was being covered up.
Let me finish it. Commander Eckhart reviewed the entire case in your letter in a timely manner. On October 29th, 2008, he wrote a memorandum to Assistant Chief Smith. The memorandum stated, I have found no criminal violations by any of the listed parties. There is also no evidence of any wrongdoing or policy violations of any Portland police personnel. I request this case be closed with no additional review. Though Chief Rosie Sizer did not write a letter back to you, I assure you that your letter to her was reviewed by the appropriate police personnel and evaluated to determine if a full investigation was necessary. On April 16, 2009, I contacted the Oregon State Bar and was provided with many documents pertaining to your case. Most specifically, I looked at correspondence between their general counsel and you. On November 17, 2008, Assistant General Counsel Scott Morrill wrote you stating, Mr. Kotcher was educated at Harvard, and Mr. Kotcher communicated extensively with you about your daughter's claim and explained the risks and possible rewards of litigating it. On November 26, 2008, you replied stating, I do not believe that a Harvard degree is an indication that a person is ethical or trustworthy. On December 5th, 2008, Scott Morrill wrote to Mr. Kotcher's attorney, Mark Fusel, stating, as you know, we dismissed Ms. Stevens' complaint because we did not find any ethical violation had occurred. On February 2nd, 2009, General Counsel Sylvia Stevens wrote you stating, your complaint about Mr. Kotcher is that he was incompetent in representing your daughter's injury case. Mr. Kotcher is an experienced personal injury lawyer who has tried many cases successfully. The evidence indicates he thoroughly prepared your daughter's case and presented it to the best of his ability. That you disagree with some of his choices, now regret your decisions, or are disappointed by the jury's verdict is not evidence that he was incompetent or failed to communicate with you as required by our rules. After carefully considering the facts presented, I concur with the Client Assistance Office dismissal of your complaint. The Oregon State Bar's filing concerning your complaint is now closed. I spoke with Sergeant Dan Liu, who said he personally spoke with Officer Miller that day he took the report. Sergeant Liu told Officer Miller to write the report and fax it to him so that he could read it the following Monday. Sergeant Liu acknowledged that he did speak with you and possibly Renee on a couple of occasions. Sergeant Liu said that you demanded an investigation, though one was not appropriate in this situation because of timeliness and that it appeared to be an accident. This isn't an official letter, y'all.
This is from the police.
Yeah,
folks.
This is from it appeared to be an accident, determined by both the report and civil trial. No investigation, though.
Folks,
they're not going to do an investigation like the Patrick Kimmons investigation.
You cannot determine what something was, whether it was a crime or an accident, without an investigation. And that's all these people want to evade.
Sergeant Liu also said that you were argumentative. Listen closely. And would not listen to him is why the child abuse team would not investigate. Sergeant Liu remembered you or Renee stating, "What if it was your kid?" Sergeant Liu said that he did indeed hang up on you because you were yelling at him over the phone. Sergeant Liu said that he told you to lower your voice or he would terminate the conversation. When you did not comply, Sergeant Liu hung up the phone. Okay, y'all, is that appropriate? A person of color, first of all, not just any old buddy in the community, but a person of color. So, me and my husband, we're statistically, especially my husband, going to be more prone to gun violence. So our daughter was brutally assaulted, and you admit to that, but you're going to hang up the phone on me because you really care about the community. When he did this, we could have went and committed all kinds of crimes. They made no provisions. They didn't care at all what was going on. That is how much they didn't care about Qadira at all, or us.
Or the community.
Or the community. You know what? They didn't care if in a fit of rage we went and shot up the school or anything like that. They didn't care.
They wanted something like that to happen.
Why are we holding our public officials accountable for this? I don't know. Portland Police Bureau employees are not expected to stay on the phone while the other party yells at him or her. Sergeant Liu acted appropriately in this situation, especially since he did warn you of the pending disconnection. Wow. That's all I have to say.
It's funny because the police in this circumstance don't want to deal with any of the crimes that were committed.
Okay, let me finish the letter. Lastly, I contacted Department of Human Services caseworker Firdousi Chowdhury. This case was previously assigned to her. She said she visited your home and Amy's home in November of 2008. She closed your case, noting the injury was an accident. I do wholeheartedly agree with you that Qadira getting severely burned at a friend's house was a horrible and unfortunate event. This experience was obviously terrifying and painful for not only Qadira, but for you and your family. Given that I have no information that leads me to believe that the Portland Police Bureau acted inappropriately in regard to your case, usually in child injury cases such as this one, the first instinct of most people is to seek medical attention and notify the police. I am not saying that this case would have turned out any differently had you notified police sooner, but at least a preliminary investigation by both police and the Department of Human Services would have occurred immediately following the incident. Reporting this incident to the police 16 months after the occurrence has put all the involved parties at a great disadvantage. Administrative Rule ARB PSF 520 allows me to decline to assign allegations for a full IAD investigation and take no further action if I find that the employee's conduct as alleged by the complaint does not violate Bureau policy.
Once again,
at this time, I find that the conduct in this matter does not violate Bureau policy. Therefore, IAD declines to take any further action of your complaint. Again, they don't want to say how they determined this was an accident because I've read the depositions up here. Todd and Amy, all they admitted to was a crime. And at the end of the day, it was the police's job. I mean, not the police's job. It was the hospital's job the minute we walked through the doors to call the police. So we didn't hide our daughter in some back room somewhere and not tell anybody about this. Her school was notified. Hospitals were notified. We were sent home to deal with this massive traumatic injury on our own which is why we are still traumatized to this day. And the fact that we are unwilling to have this conversation, but people went out marching for MLK, it's just disgusting and shameful.
Disingenuous, folks.
It's so shameful.
It's very disingenuous because we don't really care about racism.
Martin Luther King is not an ad. He's not an ad. That's how we treat these people, like these civil rights leaders. That's how we treat even Jesus Christ. He's just an ad. Nobody means any of it anymore. It's all about what we're up here trying to get instead of what these people did. That's how people justify not helping us. Oh, we know that actually those people want what? We want our rights. The rights that we're supposed to have as American citizens. We want this country to not be corrupt. We want the conversations we have about race to be honest. Okay? Not divisive and fake. Because the ones we're having up here are just fake and meaningless. I really don't know why anyone gathered and marched for Dr. King. Because his dream isn't alive. It's not even close to being alive. His dream doesn't even have any air. He's just an ad so people can make money. Okay? Just like Jesus, he's an ad so the churches can make money. Nobody really cares about morality anymore around here or values. I've been told over and over, it's just okay what happened to your kid. It's fine those people got her naked. Why? Because they were white people? I don't get it. I don't get how anyone takes up for this. I mean, I've been attacked by people who take up for it and they just completely disregard what happened. They just keep telling me that it was the right of the white people to assault my child, burn her, and try to cover it up and file, hold a fraudulent trial, cover up this crime, the whole 9 yards. And
not
why?
treat our daughter.
It's not our fault about all the people that got involved in this. So many people got involved in this cover-up, and I don't know why they did it. You'd have to ask them.
Well, that would be what an investigation is for.
Yeah.
But who's going to run an investigation when everybody, all the authorities are corrupt?
It's really sad because, as our communities, are coming apart at the seams here in Portland, the police are just steady ignoring this, trying to keep a lid on what they're covering up here. And it's just destroying the communities more because I can tell you right now, either the people of color in this city are scared shitless, or they've been threatened, or everybody just has Stockholm syndrome and they just, they're getting the money from who they're getting the money from and they don't think that, anything's ever going to come of this. But it's wrong what's going on in this city. It's wrong what's going on in this nation. We have one party in this country, the Democrats, they say they care about this stuff. They say they care about marginalized people. They say they care about children and the poor and all this stuff. But when the rubber hits the road, they don't care at all. Because I'm smack dab in the middle of a blue city, and I can't get no help from any of these groups that say they care about this stuff. So how in the hell are we ever going to get anything figured out in this country? I mean, we're going to devolve down into civil war if this is the discourse we're going to be having. That's all I'm saying, because it's clear as day to me. Someone has an agenda, and that's what's playing out here. It's not about actually, making sure that people actually have their rights or that there's any integrity in any of our systems.
Or that anybody's actually genuinely cared for. They don't really care about that. They don't care if people are actually doing well.
It's really difficult living through this because, me and my husband, since the night our daughter was burned, all we ever think about is we just wish we hadn't sent her over to those people's house. That's what we wish, because everything we did after that, in Todd's deposition, and this has been a rumor that's been going around, we took her to the hospital to get money, not because she was injured. Okay, but she was severely injured and needed to go to the hospital.
Apparently everything that we did was to get money.
Right. Even though we didn't injure our daughter, okay? But it doesn't matter what we did because we're people of color. We're painted as these horrible people. I mean, even now, I just had somebody telling me, oh, you're just on that corner for vengeance. Dude, if I wanted vengeance, I could have had vengeance long ago.
So
that's what's easy to get.
These
vengeance
people live right around the corner from us. It's very easy to get a gun here in this city.
Vengeance is...
We could go and kill these people if we wanted, but that's not what we want. What we want is to make this community a better place by making sure that people who are committing crimes are held accountable, and especially for our authorities.
And we need to start showing our children other ways besides picking up a gun to solve their problems. Because, I'm sorry, that is what's popular. That's what's promoted. That's what gets you honored in the newspaper. Me and my husband are honored because we have maintained our peaceful protests for the last 16 years. We get no honor. Look at all these intact businesses. No broken windows, no fires, no drama, no chaos.
Yeah, we're a little loud.
All because of the way we're handling this. We're not sitting over here trying to whip the city up into a frenzy. What we were trying to do is actually get this investigated and reported on in the way it should be, in a civil manner. But that's not being done. And there's no accolades from the community for maintaining peace. So don't tell me you respect MLK. Don't tell me he's somebody that this nation honors. He's an ad now, and I feel sorry for him. He's rolling in his grave. I mean, his life's work has become an ad. I saw all the regular protest groups out on Monday doing their thing. But they ignore me and my husband down on the corner. They won't even come talk to us. So, what he fought for doesn't matter here in this country, and that's why our country's fallen apart. No unity whatsoever. The agreements we've made with our law enforcement, they don't exist. If you have money, you just pay your way out of everything. So people have shown what their allegiance is. And in this case, I think it really does boil down to, and you just heard me read that letter, on October 29th, 2008, not only did the Portland police decline to investigate Qadira's case, but Phil Knight gave OHSU $100 million. And I do think there is a connection there because my husband had filed a complaint against Nike. And if you look at the front page of the Oregonian today, and I'm shocked they're even talking about it, look how hard these women are having to fight. It's been 5 years, and they can't even get the courts to move.
They can't even get it as classified as a
class action,
which they should be able to do.
Also, I want to say that Marco Hernandez, he was totally involved in Stevens versus Nike. He will cover up for Nike, and that's another problem with this country is we don't really have, our politicians are useless. We just have it's just the corporations that decide everything because they have all the money.
And the government's just it's a fiat system to make us believe that there is some kind of system, but there is no system. We are basically living in the wild, wild west.
Yeah,
all that matters is who has the most money. That's all that matters.
That's it. And right now, here in Oregon, everybody just, Nike has a lot of money, so whatever Nike wants, Nike gets. And we don't ever try to, here in America, hold our corporations accountable for their shitty behavior. But if you have corporations that are running everything, that completely don't care about people, that think people should just be slaves, which is, I'm sorry, that's the foundation of Nike. They were built on the backs of child slaves. That's how that company became so great. Okay, that's how Phil Knight made his wealth, by slaving and harming children. So it's no wonder to me that they got themselves involved in this entire cover-up, I mean, it was ripe. The police had already covered it up. So the hospitals, the game was already on, right? And our daughter, as a little biological girl, just didn't matter. I mean, little biological girls are the least worthy in our society. Everybody knows that.
Especially
that's why,
black little girls.
Yeah, that's why the women in Afghanistan and Iran and even here, everywhere, being thrown away, trashed like garbage. So, it's really sad. It's a conversation we need to be having, you know, because you can't have half of your society being treated like actual garbage. You know, women contribute a lot. They've contributed a lot to the development of society, and this is just really, really, really poor behavior. We're not going to sort it out if we don't talk about it. You know, and people hating on me and my husband, that's, like I said, I wouldn't do that to anybody. I can't imagine saying I hate somebody so much. I hope their innocent child who was tortured and assaulted never gets justice. You need to really think about what kind of person you are if those are the thoughts going through your head. Because that is discrimination. And it's fascism to say that somebody has to be a certain kind of person to have access to society at all. It's truly sick.
Folks, we're going to keep getting out here. We don't care what you say or who's saying it or what you think we should be doing. Because, folks, we've done everything to try and get justice for our daughter. So that's why we're out here. Okay?
And I understand people feel attacked by us. They think that, oh, you're saying that I'm racist. You're saying that I'm sexist. You're saying that I'm a pedophile. You're saying this. Look, everybody has their reasons for not helping with this situation. I think a lot of people, their hands are tied, but there are a lot of people in this community, I want to warn everybody, who do literally think that it's okay to play naked games with kids, it's fine to hurt kids, it's fine that this cover-up happened. They don't care. So, watch your kids, is what I would say. I mean, Todd's a pedophile, he's living right behind Maplewood. Law enforcement's not going to do anything about that. You know, plenty of people in this community do condone this behavior, and law enforcement isn't going to come out here and do anything about it because, like I said, I mean, their hands are tied. Probably the police officers that want to do something about this have been threatened. So it's no wonder that nobody wants to join the PPB. This whole entire city is a mess. So, and that's a choice. These are all choices. You can choose something else. Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh my God, thank you. I appreciate this so much. Thank you. I know this is hard, so thank you. I know it's hard for everybody. It is. It's tough. Thank you.
It's something. Thank you. We appreciate that.
I appreciate that. I do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's very hard to be out here, so any gesture of kindness is greatly appreciated.
And this, I just want to say this woman gave us something really nice, and I appreciate it. There's been a lot of gestures from people in this community that are very kind, so I don't want just the people who drive by here and act like jerks to be a reflection of what's going on up here. So, thank you. And I want to keep reminding people of that. We know this is a tough situation for everybody. And we do look forward to the authorities actually getting involved, and we do plan on cooperating. We do plan on cooperating when the dam bursts on this thing, so, and it will. This is about having a real conversation so we can actually clean things up in our society so people are getting the help that they need. The breakdown in our law enforcement system, it's not good. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for the community. It's not good for businesses. It's not even good for people who are actually, being engaging in crime. That we don't have.
Them not being held accountable.
That doesn't help them either.
No, it's not helping them.
It's important. One of the things I want to say too is I really feel like it's important not to be violent because at the end of the day, more than anything else, I want these people to explain themselves. Because our justice system, our legal system, our medical system, I just want to put it out there to the doctors, the lawyers, the judges. People are trusting you with their lives. They're trusting you with their lives. These oaths that you take to hold office, they're so important because you are the glue that is holding our society together. And when you don't do your job, then misunderstandings and whatever, these things can grow.
They get amplified,
They
turn into actual serious fractures in our social
fabric. Yes. So we really need, we don't have enough oversight. We need oversight upon oversight at this point. And I want to say again, I know people get the impression that we think this is all about us. This is not all about us or just about our daughter. That's another reason why you don't see us collecting donations. We don't even take donations. We just do this on a shoestring budget. This is just a service to the community. And my call out to our elected officials is at the end of the day, you guys, we're all creating this mess here together. And we can either choose to clean it up or we can choose to make it worse. This situation isn't making anything better. Because not everybody in this community, was a part of this. But unfortunately, the people who did this, they're hiding behind the entire community's skirt. And that is not fair to anybody. And we do here in this city need to make sure that we are having meaningful conversations about race and about equity because of what happened in downtown Portland, because we had the police and citizens fighting, because we had so much damage done, we need to make sure that all of that wasn't a waste, a complete waste. And when you are more focused on your agenda than actually fixing the problem, then, the conversations that you facilitate don't help. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I saw these community events for MLK. Me and my husband were never invited. We are never invited. We are not invited to any of these tables. Not with the black community, not with the white community. I get Nike is funding a lot of stuff, and I get that people want Nike to be a good company, but that's something you're going to have to fight for too. If America wants to have corporations that care about people and not just money, if America wants to have corporations that represent America on the world stage in a good light, then we're going to have to fight for those companies to be that way. Nike's not the only company here in America that is not treating people right. But the bigger the corporation, the worse they usually are. I'm always amazed. It's the little businesses. It's the little guy that treats regular people so much better because they still connect with them. That's the issue with me and my husband. We can come out here and we can connect with the community because we live in the community. Once you've made billions of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, these people that move into these gated communities and stuff like that, and they no longer even utilize regular businesses. They're shopping online or they're, down on Saks Fifth Avenue or whatever, they're so disconnected from the general public, they can't make policy for the general public anymore. They don't know how to clean up any of these messes. And
they really don't care.
And they don't care because they don't have to
deal with it.
They don't have to.
And that's unfortunate.
And I just want to say that I appreciate everybody here for, at least putting up with this. Because, we keep getting out here. We try to do it in the right way. We try to come once a week. We don't want to be out here every day. This isn't the trucker protest. But this does need to be talked about, and I look forward to the city having this conversation because I think there could be some real national healing when we get down to the bottom of this. When we sit these judges down and ask them, why'd you cover up this crime?
And the doctors.
We sit these doctors down and say, why'd you cover up this crime? And the police. Then we can start getting to the heart of the matter, and maybe we can start solving these problems that we're having in our communities, and we can move away from all this violence and destruction, because nobody needs that right now. They really don't. There's so much bigger fish to fry in terms of what's happening with our supply chain, what's happening with world events. I mean, and in order to fortify ourselves and be ready to care for each other, we're going to have to make sure that this kind of stuff is dealt with and dealt with appropriately. So,
yeah, folks, we're not going to survive the financial collapse that's coming. I'm sorry, that's engineered. If we can't come together as a people and understand what actually matters, which is people.
Right.
I mean, that we should be able
how
to
you treat
easily,
people.
We should be able to easily understand and embrace each other as what is actually valuable. But that's not going to happen if we keep on deferring to the money to make our decisions for us.
I mean, this situation, why these people are doing it, I'd like to know. But I just want to put it out to them, like what they're doing. They're sending a terrible message to the community by ignoring this. And it's never appropriate for a police officer. If Sergeant Dan Liu, in 2008, he was the head of the child abuse team. He was screaming at me and hung up on me. The parent of an abused child, screaming at me and hung up on me. And then the Bureau has the nerve to send me a letter and say that that was appropriate. There are a lot of parents that totally would have committed all kinds of violence just over that letter alone. You don't do that to victims of crimes. You don't do that to anybody. That is not how you relate to the community. And it's really sad to me because I see the Portland police struggling, and I see that they have leadership that is not interested in helping them actually connect with the community. Again, they're just being led in the wrong direction. So I can actually stand here and say that I kind of feel sorry for the police in this situation, because they seem to just be run out when they're sitting there fighting protesters and stuff. I don't even know why their sergeants tell them to go do that kind of stuff. I hate it when I see the community and police fighting. It's not a productive activity. And the police, at the end of the day, you know, there has to be a chain of command. They're just following orders. So,
but they can, on a personal note, refuse to do what they are being told, especially when it's wrong. And
right.
That's why we need our police force to have integrity when it comes to enforcing the laws and actually doing their job. When they hear something is completely wrong, they shouldn't just be going along with it.
And who knows why they are. That's another thing. I mean, the police, because the media won't cover this case, the police are being muzzled. So we don't know what kind of gag order they're under in terms of discussing this case. But, you know, I encourage everybody, you know, let's free them. Let's free them all. Let's free everybody who's in this circumstance to talk about this. And we're just going to keep getting out here until it happens. You know, little by little, you know, hopefully the media will pick this story up and we'll be able to sort out all the facts. But we're not out here to disturb anybody. We're not out here to start a riot. We just want to be having honest, meaningful conversations because we need desperately to have that in America today. And those are just being shut down left and right over an agenda. And I don't like that. And I'd like to know what the agenda is, because it doesn't seem like it's a good one. You know, especially the other day when I looked at KETU, I mean, community honors, you know, man killed in shooting, and he's, I'm sorry.
The first one of 2023, that's an honor, right?
Yeah, it happened on MLK Day. It's an honor. It was an honor for Patrick Kimmons to be shot. If we're willing to have these conversations, then we as a community will have the conversation. And then we'll help that conversation grow as we have the conversation peacefully here together. Because I can promise you all, we just don't do the violence or the riots. We haven't been doing that for 16 years, and we're never going to do it.
Because it's not productive,
It's
folks.
not productive. It's not helpful. And honestly, when people harm children, we need to understand what's going through their head. We need to really, really look closely into this kind of stuff. And when you kill somebody, there's no more lessons to be learned, okay? We have to understand why this went on, why people covered it up, what's going on. I mean, that's how we fix things. That's how we work together.
Yeah, if they were afraid that these people might have to endure, the prison system that they are constantly subjecting, just regular citizens to, then it's time for us to look at how we are, treating criminals.
How do we want to handle it?
Because if we can't, these people can't be held accountable because it's going to ruin their reputations or their lives because they have to go to jail.
That's what it does to everybody else that commits.
We need to look for a better system in terms of holding people accountable. If not everybody can be subject to this system.
If everybody doesn't like the system, then fine, we can talk. I'm game for all kinds of conversations when it comes to this, but let's do an investigation and let's figure out what happened first.
That's where it starts, folks. So
first, we need to figure out
if you want to help us, we'd like to call the mayor. Okay.
Yeah, and
we'd like
again,
to call the mayor and ask for a police investigation into the abuse of Qadira Stevens. But we honestly believe that the corruption, it goes beyond that.
Well, what we need, though, and what we are, though, specifically for people who don't want to have to sort it out, figure anything out, if you are putting in a call to the Mayor Ted Wheeler's office, what we want is a police investigation that looks exactly like the Patrick Kimmons investigation. So we want a real investigation. That's what we want. And our daughter was a crime victim, and she should be able to get that.
There are plenty of records to look over.
Let's just start there. I know me and my husband come up here and we talk about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we have a lot to say about a lot of things, but what we're seeking is this police investigation in terms of our issue. To address the complaint that we talk about a lot of things and we don't stay focused on our daughter, we've been out here for 2 years, you guys. It's just just
hard.
The way it goes. It's hard.
Especially when you look at how this has affected our perspective. We don't see things like probably you do anymore.
No.
Our entire reality has been completely fractured.
This really shifted.
We don't believe in the authorities like you probably do.
No, and
we just see too much of this corruption, and it's insidious.
It's scary. It's scary. I mean, they were able to just lie to us, and then they don't have to explain any of it. And
in any meaningful manner.
No.
What these police officers wrote to us was absolute garbage, and it was completely ridiculous. They shouldn't have said half the things that they said in that letter, but they did anyway.
Yeah, and that letter is like, I don't have anywhere to take the letter to. So, I mean, that's another thing. There's no attorney that's going to come help me. There's nobody that's going to help us in this situation right now. Until, I don't know, I guess we'll have to see. But the things we're out here talking about, I mean, they're affecting other people. And the fact that these people are still working within our space, that affects other people. Just like I was discussing this case with Nike. Marco Hernandez should not have any case involving Nike sitting in front of him. But because his history isn't being looked into, he's being allowed to make decisions for a whole group of women that were discriminated against. And like I said, my husband can corroborate what was going on up there at Nike because he complained about the same things. So I feel sorry what I read in the Oregonian, because I know that everything that the women are saying is true. And I'm sure there's other men up there that have experienced what my husband experienced, because there's a culture of entitlement at Nike, and the managers, the problem is when people start making a lot of money, it goes to their head. They think they're gods. They just start treating people however they want, which is why we have such a big problem with the billionaire class. But that's for another day. I'm going to go home and get warm. We'll say our affirmation, and we're going to cut out of here. Again, I appreciate the lady that came up today. I think that there's a lot of good people in this community. And, we're not trying to tar and feather our community here. We're just letting everybody know what happened. And we're hoping one day, even if it takes 27 years, like Nelson Mandela, we'll get out here every day till the day we die, because we are hoping that we can start a meaningful conversation about race and equity and corruption in our system here in America, because that's something we really need to have. You can see both the left and the right basically working to cover this up right now. We're not getting any real support or help. I know that's why the average person walks on by. Don't think I don't get that. So anyway, we'll shut it down and we'll see everybody next week. You want to do the affirmation?
Folks, the affirmation is simple, but we're going to keep on saying it because it's still not something that is being embraced or acknowledged even. And that's a big problem. Folks, we have forgotten that people are what is actually valuable.
And people have forgotten that.
Yes, and the way we are running our society it's not in line with that understanding. So we need to bring that understanding back to the forefront. We need to make it a conversation that we are having on a daily basis with each other.
Because when people understand that they are valuable, then that changes their behavior. So you get a better behavior. Like me and my husband, we've been doubling down on that we are the value for years now.
Which is how
it has helped us inform our, decisions and how we are responding. Because we believe we're valuable, we're not going to go act. We're not going to go commit crimes. We're not going to go hurt people. Because we want to be here to live another day, to be a part of our community so we can contribute. And that's what being the value means.
Also, because we understand our own value, we understand the value of others, which is one of the most important reasons why we don't go out and try to hurt anybody. We're not trying to hurt these people who hurt us in such a, blatant manner.
No,
we're not trying to hurt those people. We're just trying to hold these people accountable, and we would like to improve our community. That's why we're out here.
Yes, and we'd like to continue modeling to our children, if you have a problem, you don't need to be violent to solve it. It might take more time to solve it peacefully, but you live. You live.
And
you live to fight another day. You live to contribute to your community. You live to solve problems.
Folks, there it is. So here's our affirmation. It's very simple. I am the value.
I am the value.
You are the value.
You are the value.
We are the value.
We are the value.
We're not talking about money. We're not talking about gold or silver or cryptocurrency. We are talking about human life.
Right.
That is the only thing that is actually valuable. So here it goes again.
I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. You have to reclaim your value, okay? Everybody needs to do the work, and that's the job. So we'll give everybody another week to work on that, and we'll see you guys all for week 82. Thank you, Multnomah Village.
Wait, let me get these. Let me turn off. Hold those. Okay. And I need to get those in first.
Whatever you need. It's so cold, I want to turn the car on.
Oh, shit. This is low battery. Did you get it?